Crick and Watson proposed a model for DNA structure, and it is called as double helical structure of DNA. It is the genetic material in all organisms except RNA viruses. In prokaryotes with no well-defined nucleus, the DNA is organized into large loops held by certain positively charged proteins in a region called nucleoid. Hello dear students. Welcome back to session 2 of this interesting chapter 6 of your syllabus called Molecular Basis of Inheritance. Myself, B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram, Pre-University College, Mysuru. I think you remember in my first session, we started off with the introductory part of this chapter called Molecular Basis of Inheritance, studying about what are nucleic acids, that is about DNA and RNA. We also studied about the chemical components of the DNA, namely the three very important components, that is the sugar, that is the deoxyribose sugar, 4 nitrogenous bases and the phosphoric acid. And the type of phosphoric acid that is found in DNA is orthophosphoric acid. Moving on to today's session, where you'll be studying about the structure of DNA. Hope you know that you might have come across the picture of DNA. It is in a twisted manner and it is called as double helical structure or double-stranded DNA structure. So, what is the name given for this? It is called double-stranded DNA structure, or it is otherwise called double helix model of DNA. So it looks more or less like a twisted ladder. We always compare the structure of a DNA molecule to a twisted ladder, right? With the uprights and rungs made up of sugar and phosphoric acid, and the rungs or the steps made up of the 4 nitrogenous bases. And as I said, the nitrogenous bases, according to Erwin Chargaff's rule, that is what we are going to study in today's session. Structure of DNA. So this is how, when we expand, the structure looks like this. So here it is like this, right? So structure of DNA. I think all of us might have come across 2 very important scientists by Watson and Crick. James T. Watson and F.H.C. Crick. F.S. Crick and Watson proposed a model for DNA structure, and it is called as double helical structure of DNA. So, whereas 2 very important scientists by name Franklin and Wilkins, Maurice Wilkins, they analyzed DNA using the X-ray crystallographic studies and indicated the possible helical structure. Based on the ideas given by Franklin and Wilkins, that is James D. Watson and F.H. Crick proposed this double helical structure of DNA. And as I said, Franklin and Wilkins in 1950 analyzed the DNA using X-ray crystallographic technique and indicated the possible helical structure. And one scientist by name Chargaff in 1948 conducted chemical analysis of DNA and proposed what we call it as Chargaff's rule. Chargaff's rule of base equivalence, or it is also called as complementary base pairing. What is this complementary base? It is also called base equivalence rule, or it is otherwise called Chargaff's rule. According to this base equivalence rule or Chargaff's rule, with respect to DNA, A means adenine will always base pairs with thymine with 2 double bonds, whereas cytosine, one of the amino acid, will base pair with guanine with 3 double bonds. So this is called, that is A always base pairs with T and C with T, or it is vice versa, T with A or G with C. So this is called base equivalence rule. So when we study this, what are the 4 nitrogenous bases in case of DNA? Adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine. So with respect to this, what is the base equivalence rule? A always base with thymine with 2 double bonds and C with guanine with 3 double bonds and vice versa. So this is called Erwin-Chargaff's rule. So that is how we come across. See here, A is base paired with T and C with G, G with C and T with A. So this forms the rungs or the steps. So this forms the backbone. Backbone is nothing but the uprights. Here you can see these are the uprights and these are the rungs. Rungs or what we call it as steps. Steps are made up of what? Nitrogenous base. A with T, G with C, G with C or T with A. Here sugar plus phosphate group. Right? H3PO, H2PO4. Right? So here as I said, and according to this Erwin-Chargaff's rule, adenine pairs with thymine with 2 hydrogen bonds as I said, and A with T, and guanine pairs with cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds. Actually it is 3, not 2. It is G with C, right? So the number of purines is always equal to the number of pyrimidines. So 2 are purines and 2 are pyrimidines. And one thing you should remember, purines will never base pair with purines and pyrimidines with pyrimidines. Purines will always pair with pyrimidines or vice versa. Pyrimidine will base pair with purines because of the stability, the bond. Otherwise it will break. The bond will break and there will be no base pairing. And this type of base pairing is called complementary base pairing. What do you mean by complementary? Opposite. See, A and T, C and G. Right? This is called complementary base pairing. A base with T, C, with double bond with T and C with triple bond with G. So this is A will not base pair with G and C with T. So this is called complementary base pairing. Hope you have understood, and this is very important concept to understand this whole chapter. As I said, structure of DNA, Franklin and Wilkins analyzed the DNA using X-ray crystallographic technique and indicated the possible helical structure, and Chargaff in 1948 conducted chemical analysis of DNA and proposed Chargaff's rule of basic, or you can also call it as base equivalence rule or complementary base pairing. According to this base pairing, A will always base with T with 2 hydrogen bonds and C with G with 3 hydrogen bonds. Moving on to the double helical structure of Watson and Crick model of DNA, as I have already shown you there. So James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick in 1953 of Cambridge University in England proposed the DNA double helix model using the available data. So these were the 2 scientists who were also awarded the Nobel Prize for this wonderful contribution of proposing a double helical model of DNA. So that is James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick in 1953, who were working in Cambridge University in England, proposed this DNA helix model and were awarded the Nobel Prize. As you know, Nobel Prize is the highest award given for their contribution. Right? Now, what was the basis for them to propose this double helical structure based on the available data? That is, the DNA is made up of what? 2 polynucleotide strands. As I said, it is made up of 2 polynucleotide strands that form a double helix. So here, only thing is it is in a twisted form. So this we call it as like a ladder, but this is in a twisted form like this. Right? And the structure of DNA resembles that of a twisted ladder or a spiral staircase where repeated units of sugar and phosphate forms a backbone and nitrogen bases are projected towards the center resembling the steps. So I repeat, James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick in 1953 of Cambridge University in England proposed this double helical model for DNA, for which they were awarded the Nobel Prize, which is the highest prize for their wonderful contribution in the field of the study of the DNA. And as I said, the DNA is made up of, what was the basis for them to propose this model? Based on the available data that was obtained through Franklin and Morris Wilkins through X-ray crystallographic studies, that the DNA is made up of 2 polynucleotide strands that form a double helix, and the structure of DNA resembles that of a twisted ladder or a spiral case, where repeated units of sugar and phosphate forms a backbone, and the nitrogenous bases are projected towards the center, resembling the steps. Moving on to the remaining points with reference to the structure of DNA proposed by James D. Watson and F. H. Crick, the 2 strands are anti-parallel. As I said, they are in anti-parallel. If one is 3 dash, the other will be 5 dash. So they are anti-parallel strands. Anti-parallel strands, one strand runs in 5 dash 3 dash direction, and the other strand runs in 3 dash 5 dash direction. So that is the very important point to be noted. So the base pairing always follows what? Chargaff's base equivalence or complementary base pairing, that is A plus G is equal to C plus T is equal to 1. This is a very, very important very important point to learn. Usually they will ask this. So what is Chargaff's base equivalence rule or complementary pairing? A plus G is equal to C plus T is equal to 1. Where, what does it mean? Where adenine pairs with thymine with 2 hydrogen bonds and guanine pairs with cytosine by 3 hydrogen bonds. Thus the 2 strands are held together by the weak hydrogen bonds formed between the nitrogenous bases. And the distance between, the distance between the 2 strands, the distance between 2 strands is 20 Armstrong, and the length of this is 34 Armstrong units, and the distance is 20, the diameter is 20 Armstrong units, and the distance between 2 base pairs will be around 3.4 Armstrong. So 1 full turn of the helix and 1 full turn or helix is also called as gyre. It is also called as what? Gyre. So the distance between 2 strands is 20 Armstrong, and 1 full turn of the helix or gyre, as I said, 1 twist or 1 helix is also called as gyre, which is around 3.4 nanometer, and each gyre accommodates 10 base. So 1 twist or 1 helix will have how many base pairs? It will have 10. For example, AT, CG, CG, GC, TA. So like this, how many pairs will be there? 10 base pairs. 10 base pairs are there, and the distance between each base pair is 0.34 nm. So this is about the remaining points of the structure of DNA. Now, what are the functions of DNA then? As you know, DNA plays a great role. It is the genetic material in all organisms except RNA viruses. So it is the genetic material in all organisms except RNA viruses, and it undergoes what? Self-replication. As you said, DNA is always double-stranded. It will be never single-stranded. So it makes a replica of itself. So one of the parental strand goes to the daughter cell, and that is the reason why the offsprings or the children will resemble their parents to some extent. And it synthesizes protein. It takes, as I said, it takes part in gene mutation and genetic recombination that bring about variations. So very, very important is because there is combination between 2 very important genetic strands, hence there is genetic recombination giving rise to what? Variation. So what are the functions of DNA? It is the genetic material in all organisms except RNA viruses. It undergoes self-replication. It makes a replica of itself, a duplicate of itself, or a Xerox copy of itself. So it synthesizes RNA, it synthesizes protein, it takes part in gene mutation and genetic recombination that bring about variation. So these are the very important functions of DNA. Now let us move on to a next very important concept, that is packaging of DNA or the nucleosome model. Here you can see the nucleosome model. Nucleosome model. What is this nucleosome model all about? And this diagram is very important. Usually they'll ask for 2 marks. As I said, split questions may also be asked, and they might ask this for 2 marks. So in prokaryotes with no well-defined nucleus, the DNA is organized into large loops held by certain positively charged proteins in a region called nucleoid. So, but in case of eukaryotes, so in prokaryotes, what happens is, in prokaryotes with no well-defined nucleus, the DNA is organized into large loops held by certain positively charged proteins in a region called nucleoid. But in case of eukaryotes, the DNA is wrapped around. Here you can see the DNA is, so here you can see that this is the DNA. The DNA is wrapped around the protein units, positively charged histone octamers. Histone means what? Histone is nothing but a protein. Histone octamer into structure called nucleosome. Hence the name nucleosome model. Histone octamer consists of what? 8 histone molecules. Here you can see. So this is one side of the nucleosome model. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So you can see how many? They are called H1 proteins. Histone proteins means H1 proteins. H1 protein, H3, H2, H2A, H2A. So like that 8 histone. So in eukaryotes, the DNA is wrapped around the positively charged histone octamer into structure called nucleosome, and histone octamer consists of how many? 8 histone molecules, and they are positively charged. So histones are in basic amino acid residues called lysines and arginine. So a typical nucleosome consists of how many base pairs? 200 base pairs of DNA helix. So here you can see it is wound around the DNA, and hence it is called as what? Linker DNA that links one histone molecule to the other histone molecule. So it is called packaging of DNA, that is nucleosome model. As I said, in prokaryotes with no well-defined nucleus, the DNA is organized into large loops held by certain positively charged proteins in a region called nucleoid. And in eukaryotes, the DNA is wrapped around positively charged histone octamer into structure called nucleosome, and histone octamer consists of how many? 8 histone molecules, and they are positively charged. Histones are in what? Basic amino acids. Histone proteins are, protein is nothing but what? Made up of amino acids. A typical nucleosome consists of how many base pairs? 200 base pairs of DNA helix. Remaining about the remaining points of this nucleosome model, the nucleosome are the repeating units that form chromatin fibers, and the chromatin, as I said, when we say chromosome, we use a word called chromatin fiber. They are in the form of network. The chromatin fibers condense at metaphase stage of cell division to form what? Chromosome. The packaging of chromatin at higher level requires additional set of proteins called non-histone proteins, chromosomal proteins. So in a nucleus, certain regions of the chromatin are loosely packed and they stain lighter. So based on that, we call it as what? Heterochromatin and euchromatin. Very important. This is also asked in exam. Heterochromatin and euchromatin. Euchromatin. What is that is euchromatin? In a nucleus, certain regions of the chromatin are loosely packed and stained darkly. So heterochromatin means what? Loosely packed and stained lighter. Stained lighter. That is, sorry, it is euchromatin. Heterochromatin, tightly packed. So here it is, this is euchromatin, and heterochromatin is tightly packed and stains dark. Stains dark. This is a very important question which is asked in the exam. Differentiate between heterochromatin and euchromatin. So what are euchromatin? Those are the regions which are loosely packed and stained lighter. What are heterochromatin? Those are the regions which are tightly packed and they stain darker. So this is very important terms. Then euchromatin is transcriptional, more active than heterochromatin. So which is more active? Euchromatin is more active than hetero. So what I'll be dealing in the coming session? So the remaining very interesting concepts of this chapter called molecular basis of inheritance. So you'll be studying about Frederick experiment. I'll be back with some more interesting concepts of this chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.